Hey guys, how's it going? Bearded here. I'd like to welcome you to my little creative world. So I don't know if there's going to be a quantum threat episode this week because I'm having a little issue with the server. Can't seem to log in. So I thought I'd bring you over here where I do my little testing and concept building and maybe go over a build that we did during the series, which is the Triton Missile. I'm no expert in the, missile building arena, but I thought I'd go over it and show you what I did and how I got it to work. We'll make it quick and hopefully you can use some of the stuff that I've done and make your own, make it bigger, better, more awesome. I don't know, but let's get busy and see if we can do this thing. So to start with, I used a advanced rotor that's all conveyored up, so we have all the parts we need, but mainly is because we're going to do a hydrogen based missile, so I want to be able to fill the tanks and do all that. So then we convert to a small grid. We just put a small head on the rotor, and then we'll go to a conveyor converter so we can get to the small grid conveyors, and then we just go up from there. Now you got to have a merge block on there so that the welders can see and start printing. And then I also have the connector on there so that we can fill the tanks. That's mainly the base there. And you gotta have the projector on the same grid that you're gonna be welding so the projector will work. Otherwise, the welders won't see it and it won't weld. That's the base setup. Kind of simple. You can use a hinge, I guess, if you wanted to. I like the rotor because I like to spin it and the welders will weld it. And maybe we'll go over that whole setup too because that's pretty simple as well. So with the missile, you don't want anything but the connector and the merge block to touch. That's kind of your basis so that you can detach it and take off and be able to build more. So we'll start with a merge block, which I gotta find my stuff, man. Let's go back here because that has most of my stuff, and we'll just look up merge block. I want a small merge block. We'll stick you there. I am in creative, so it's going to build it, but we'll do the projection afterwards and we'll see how it goes. So I always start with the merge block. That'll make sure that that will get connected and see it as the same grid. So from that, I'll need a connector, which I don't believe you can do. Oh, I guess you can. So we'll do a connector on the side there. That's our main setup. Right there. That's our connection point. So from there, I have to make sure that everything's conveyed to my tanks and my thrusters and stuff like that, which is pretty straightforward, and you can kind of do whatever configuration you want to do. So let me go in here, look up my conveyors, and I want this one. Small conveyors. I think what I'll do is I'll stick with the small conveyor junctions so that I have ports on all the sides so I can utilize where I need it. But we'll go up, oh, I don't know, 4. Let's start there. We'll go 4. Let's go 5. Kind of the spine of the operation. Yeah, I like that. Now we need some tanks and thrusters and things like that. We'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now they're not piped in yet, not a problem. We can get to that in a minute, but I do want some hydrogen thrusts. We'll just use our regular hydrogen thrusters here. We'll slap those puppies right here. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that. That seems pretty cool. So we'll throw some conveyors here, and then we'll do some more thrusters.
Fuel critical.
Just give us our lateral thrust in all the directions. Yeah, that'll work. Now I need to pipe this in, so we'll go back here, grab some more conveyors. We'll use these guys, because why not? Yep. One there, One there. One there. Did I get them all? Nope. Got one more. There we go. Okay, tanks are piped up. We got thrusts going forward and on the sides. I do want some forward thrust just so that we can stop if we need to, because it's going to go finding a target. So how should we do that? There we go. And then we'll throw some thrusters on those. Boom. There we go. We have thrust in all directions. So then this top part is where we're going to do all the business, the brains of the operation. So I know I'm going to want some timers because we're going to have to use it for turning thrusters on and off and doing all the things. So maybe I should put my timers back toward the back. Maybe down in here. We'll also need some thinkers here, what I call them. So we need a flight move block, which we want to make sure that this is facing the right direction. So that's forward. In that direction. And I don't think it matters what orientation because it's kind of just a symmetrical thing. There's no cockpit. Right? We'll make it that way. There's our AI move block. So we want a combat block. We can stick you there. I don't need a task block or a recorder block. Everything else should be fine. That's those two things. We'll need a gyro. Gotta have a gyro. I like it. And I think we'll go ahead and arm this puppy up. We'll need some warheads as well. 2 warheads. It kind of evens out that layer. I like it. Another key thing that we're going to need is a relay, an action relay block. This little guy right here, because this is what's going to tell us to go ahead and launch without having to do any weird stuff here. So we can put you... let's put you here. Action relay. I think we're going to need an antenna. That's going to be vital. We'll put the antenna up here. I think that's a good place. Grab you, and we don't need the warheads anymore. Ooh. Hey, there's the new parabolic one. Do we use that? That looks kind of funky. Let's see how it goes. It looks weird, but we don't care. We're going for functionality now just to know how I did this. So that's an antenna, warheads, timers, combat AI, and a move AI. What else do I need? I'm thinking. So the sensor, I guess, is about it. So for the sensor, this is going to help us. When the sensor senses a grid, it will detonate the warhead. So we want to set this up. I think I did front that way, right? We'll do it that way. Boom. Sensor. And that's kind of the guts of it right there. I think that's pretty much it. Everything else will be just programming the timers and sequence so that this little guy can go. So I will do a test after I do the sequence and then skin it out after that. So I guess next thing we would do would be to hop into the control panel and start setting some things up. So we'll start with our timer blocks. I want timer blocks to all be silent. First we'll do that. Silence you. So I think for our first timer block, we'll just do this and we'll name them appropriately. So I'll just go TB, and fire is what I want to be able to see to start the whole sequence. So that'll be the first one. And then we'll say timer block launch 1. Timer block launch 2. Whoops. Spell it right. Launch 2. There we go. And then the last timer block will kick in all of the AI and be the targeting one. So we'll call that timer block target. Perfect. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to have to label some things. So we'll go down here and I need to find my hydrogen thrusters.
Fuel critical.
Oh, and this doesn't give me a direction. Okay. So we're going to have to name these, at least these bottom 4, because this is our forward thrust. And I'm going to want to override those to get this missile to launch. So we'll just use build vision for that. There we go. Forward thrusters are named. Now we get back into the control panel and finish setting up this programming. So we'll look up our timer blocks, and our fire timer block is our first one in the sequence. We're going to set you back down to 1 second, and then we're going to set up our actions. Now, in our actions, we're going to have to go through the timer block sequence. So the next one in the sequence is timer block launch. So if I look up timer blocks, I can launch 1. We'll do that and we'll say start. We don't want to trigger it now. We want to have a little delay between the two. That's the first thing we need to do. And the next thing we need to do is turn off our stockpile on our tanks. So we'll look up our hydrogen tanks. Just tank. And we need the small ones. So we'll turn off stockpile. Now we need to find the 4 hydrogen thrusters for forward thrust. That's those. And we're going to need to do thrust override on all of those, enough to get it up into the air. So I'll probably use the rest of this menu and maybe to 7 or 8. I don't usually go all the way so that I know I can shut it off pretty quick. So we'll just do this. We'll go 1 and we'll go thrust override increase. And we'll do that for the next few menus. There we go. So that should be it for that timer block. So now we're on to the next timer block. Timer block launch 1. So I like to put this down to 2 seconds, just because that gives it a little time to go through everything, and the thrust override, I know everything's good, we're good to go. So we'll go set up actions. We need to look up our timer block for the next sequence, which will be timer block 2, and we're going to start that one. We'll grab our base missile connector, which I labeled in advance. I should have told you that. And I just turn it off, because then I know it's going to disconnect and we should be able to release. And then we need to find our base missile merge block. That's also the one that's on the base of the rotor. And we'll turn that off. So those two will release and we'll go on to the next block. That's the only thing I'm doing, because now my thrust override is on, those turn off, and that allows the missile to go. All right, on to timer block. What is it? Is it 2 launch? Yes. So we've just launched off. Now we're going up into the air. We have to give it enough time. So we'll go back here, and I think I want to set this. You can set it for longer or shorter depending on your situation. If you're in space, there's no gravity to overcome, so you can set it for a shorter distance. The longer time you give it, the further away from the base the missile will go before the thrust override is decreased down to 0, and the AI blocks can take over from there. So since we are on the Earth-like planet and we have 1G, it's going to take a little longer for this missile to clear the base before it goes looking for a target. So I think I'll leave it, well, we'll do 8 seconds. So we'll do 8 seconds. There we go, 8 seconds for that. So it gives 8 seconds for the missile to clear the tower. Now when it does that, I need to turn off all my thrust overrides. So this one will mainly be decreasing the thrust override on all those forward thrusters. We'll go in here and we'll look up our forward. These guys right here, and we're just going to go through all these menus to decrease the thrust override. And the reason why you got to go through all these menus is because if you do, okay, I want to decrease thrust override on these 4, and you say, why can't I just use the rest of this menu? If I go back here and say, can I repeat it? It doesn't. It just repeats it and sees it again like, oh, you already told me that command. So you got to go to a new hotbar submenu. So we're on number 2 here, and we're just going to repeat it there. Seems to work pretty well for me. So we'll go through the rest of these and we'll decrease these. Okay, that's all the menus. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 have decreased thrust override. Now I also want to make sure that I look for my next timer block to target my enemies, which is you right here, and we'll just say start. That's pretty much it for that 3rd timer block. Let's move on to the last timer block. Target timer block. So we're going to turn this down to 1 because as soon as the thrust override is done, we want the AI to take over and target our enemy and do the things. So we're going to set up actions on that. And basically all we're doing is we're going to turn the AI blocks on. So if I look up AI, we'll do our flight move block and we'll turn AI on, AI behavior on, and the same with you. There we go. So they're both off right now. That's our timer block setup. 4 timer blocks, does all the things, it should work. Pretty simple, I thought. So let's go back out of here. We'll get into our main menu. And first thing I want to do is look up my tanks again. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. So we'll look at all of our tanks here and we're going to turn stockpile on. That's our default start. So we want them to fill up right away as soon as we have that connector connected. Now we'll get out of here and we'll have to address our move block and our offensive combat block for our AI. So this is pretty self-explanatory. You want to have your AI behavior off to start with. We're going to turn off collision avoidance because I want it to glide and hurt things. We can keep precision mode off. We're going to max this out. And I like to keep the altitude pretty minimal. This is kind of a testing thing too, because I'm not sure. We'll just do 10 meters. Because that's pretty low to the ground. So we should be able to do that. I'll leave the align the gravity and the angles all the same. So that's our move block. So that tells us we can move and do things. For the offensive block, starting with AI off, we're going to attack our enemies. We'll keep it to the closest, and I want to turn this down to 5 seconds. We could go lower if we want to, but 5 seconds is pretty often, so it should be able to find something pretty quick there. Threatening subsystem, we can do anything you want. You know, the default weapons, propulsion, power systems, all the stuff. I think I'll leave it on default for these purposes just to see. And our attack pattern, we need to intercept. We're going to ram this thing. Guidance type, we'll do target prediction. So if the target is moving, it will predict where it's going and try to intercept that. So that pretty much sets up our AI blocks, which is pretty cool. And that's pretty much, I think, it. We need to set up the sensors so that we can blow things up. So we'll go there next. What we'll do is we'll show on HUD and I'll make sure that our sensor range is also here. So we'll go back to our control panel and here's our sensor. So this, we need to tweak that so that it's got some lead so we can detonate our warhead. So the actions we want is we will look up our warheads. Sense it, and we can say detonate. And now with the new update, we can go to our second menu and do the same thing here. Detonate. So now those 2 warheads will detonate when it becomes into sensor range. One thing we want to make sure is we do not want to detect players, or we can, but we're not. But we want small ships, large ships, and even stations. Now, we do not want to detect the owner or friendlies or neutral. We just want to detect enemies. So we'll leave that on. And that's our sensor pretty much set up except for the ranged field, which we can do with build vision. We'll go out of here. And you can see right now our range is pretty wide and it's not what we want. So we're going to come down here, find our sensor. There's our sensor. And we'll start turning these down. That brings us within the missile body itself. Back extent, I'm going to probably... Oh, that's the back extent. We want to keep that up.
Energy
Turn that
low.
front extent down. Now our back extent is what's going to do our job. So I want to kind of... Find the back extent, select it, and we want to pull that down. Just so it's in front of the missile. So it'll sense the grid before the missile actually contacts that, and then we just need, we'll do 5 meters. That should be good. Actually, we'll go further than that. 6 meters. Let's do that. That should be good. There we go. So there's our sensor, and when the sensor senses an enemy block, it'll be going at 100 meters per second. So it'll go kaboom, and we'll have a lot of carnage. And that's pretty much it. The rest is all done with the action relay. The action relay here is what's going to do the major job as far as triggering the launch. So we need to go back in and get that set up, and I think that'll be it. Action relay for the missile. So we're going to set up our actions, and we need to find our timer block. Fire. And you can do trigger now or start. I'm going to do start just so I can watch it, make sure I can kind of count it out in my head and make sure it works. So that's all that's going to do. It's going to send that signal and release that timer block. There you go. Now we can flesh this out if we want to. I think what we'll do before we start is we will set up an enemy and see if we can actually get there and blow something up. So we'll do Control Shift B, and that'll give us our blueprint right here, and I'm going to rename it. And we'll just say Test Missile 1. Say OK. So now we have that on our blueprints. Cool. Now we need to set up an enemy so we can see if this thing works. So we'll just look up something on our blueprints and make him into an enemy. Let's do this little guy here. Yeah, we don't care. Little rover. Pop you in. There he is. Now he doesn't have any guns or anything, but you know, we don't care because we're just going to turn him into an enemy, and he's just going to die. Rover WD-40 is now an enemy. Perfect. All right. I think we are ready for our test, so we will jump into the control seat and see if we can't make this work. Now, on my hotbar on my control station, what we have here is this is my base missile connector that I will have to make sure, and I haven't found a good way to do this automatically. So every time you build a missile, you have to make sure you lock this connector so it'll fill the tanks up. Otherwise, your missile doesn't go anywhere. But that's what that's for. These two here are for the advanced rotor for when we weld. We can turn the brake on and off, and then we can turn the rotor on and off, so that'll spin and allow our welders to do the things. And then of course we have our projector here so that it can do its thing, and then our welders and our piston controls are here. So we don't need any of that right now. We'll do that after we launch the missile and test it. Right now we need to lock this up so it fills up the tanks. There you go. You can see all the thrusters are on. It should be filling up. So what we need is our action relay. We'll go to menu 2. And that's our base action relay, which is on our tower. So first thing is we're going to set our signal. We're going to choose 1. And that's going to be our fire. Confirm that. And our second one is to send the signal. So we are locked. Set your signal and launch. Now it should do the things. There we go, just lock, and something went wrong. So let's go figure that out. You know what we did wrong? We have no batteries. Okay, this is how I learn. Now I think we're ready. Let's give it a shot. All right, let's turn off our rotor. So we're good to go there. We're going to turn on our stockpile by... Why are you unlocked? Oh, guys, I did it all wrong. Problem number 2.
Fuel critical.
So I have it turning this connector off. I don't want it to turn that connector off. I want it to turn that connector off. So we're going to rename this to missile connector. There, now I'll be able to see it. Now I need to fix that in my timers. So we'll look up our timer blocks. Timer block fire. We don't have anything for the connector there. Launch 1. Yeah, see, we did it there. So this is what we need to fix. This is my learn as we go kind of thing. This is why I say I'm not an expert. Oops. So we get rid of this one and this one. So on our timer block launch 1, we wanted to turn off the merge block and turn off the connector. And that's where I screwed it up. So this is the base missile connector and the base timer are the base merge block. We don't want those. We want the ones on the missile. So we got to look those up. Here's our missile connector. We'll turn you off. And the other one's our merge block. That's our base. This is our merge block for our missile. And we'll turn you off. That should fix our issues there. Okay. There. That sounds better. We are locked. We're going to go to our second one. This is our fire sequence. So we're going to choose the signal. And we are going to launch. This time it's going to work. There it goes. You can see the signal coming up. Missile antenna's coming in. Sees the enemy. Oh, we're coming fast. Here we go. Here we come. Here we come. Nice. There you go. All right, let's set up another enemy and see how we do. There's our missile antenna. Now we're going to have some fire back because it's got a cannon on it. Will we be able to get it? We're coming in fast. It sees it. Oh. Oh yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how I go about build the missile. I think the action relay block really helps the reliability of launching. It works pretty consistently. Now, build your own missile. I think if you guys do this, you know, you can use a relay block and a few timers and you got yourself any kind of options to do. You could do drones, you could do all kinds of stuff. So hopefully you find it helpful, educational, gave you some kind of idea as far as what you can do. I think it works pretty well. I'm going to keep using this technique in the future and maybe try some other stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it's not too long of a video, but you know, it is what it is. Anyways, with that, take it easy, everybody. Have a good one.